G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talks Stuff. I'm your host, the author, David Applegate. Now, I hope I have not bashed your ear in about Louis Theroux and Inside the Manosphere. I want you to be totally clear with you that I consider it trash. It is nothing but rage bait. I am using it as a prime example of the male feminist and to point out some very critical things about how male feminists operate. Right, first off, inside the manosphere, nothing these men say is hateful, but everything they say is selected to enrage feminists. They can't disagree without being triggered, right? They have to tear people down. Young men need inspiration, but apparently telling a young man to be fit, take care of himself, and not to engage with feminists is toxic. You know, to take control of your life, apparently you as a man are not allowed to control your life. But however, you also got to look at it this way. Louis Theroux is capitalising on the feminist rage, on female obsessions. So he's only going to focus on that which enrages women. Doesn't care, right? Although he does at times appear to hate these men. Now remember, Louis Theroux does not get why young men follow these influences and makes no attempt to learn why. Okay? He's using a technique known as muddy the waters. Okay? It's a tactic of manipulation. What you do is you, instead of focusing on someone and their beliefs and explain their beliefs and give your interpretation and ask questions about the negative interpretations, he goes straight for the negative, never gives you full context. Now, even the left says he's only looking at the manosphere at a superficial level, right? Heck, he doesn't even explain the manosphere properly. Now, feminism has gone for so long without challenge. Girls are now groomed as young as 11. Look up Little Tay. I dare you not to. I honestly swear, do not look at her videos. Why? Because she was groomed as young as 11 to prepare for OnlyFans. She's toxic, foul, loudmouth, and somehow managed to make $3 million in off pre-sales of her photographs of her at 18 naked. The only problem is she posted them at 1 minute past midnight. There's no way she posed for all those photos. Yet no one to this date has been... OnlyFans is toxic. It's beyond toxic, right? It is social acceptance of pure degeneracy. It is grooming girls to treat all men as an ATM and sex as a commodity. And somehow women see that as empowering, right? Now, yeah, it's exactly right. If there's a group in Australia called Collective Shout. If I post photos of if I, as a photographer, took photos of a nude woman and published it, I'm exploiting her. But if she does it, it's empowerment. That is their belief. Also, men showing nude photos of themselves is toxic, you know, and exploitative. Yeah, so now Louis Theroux does not acknowledge that feminism is toxic. Feminists are unhinged. They're the unhappiest people in the world. They're never happy. They literally constantly engage in muddying the waters. They never take you at your word. They always look for the most negative interpretation of everything you do. This is the constant need for power and dominance, right? Another technique is the bucket technique. Now, rather than focus on one man and go through all his ideas, what you do is you cherry pick a group of men, right, and associate them all through a common thread, right, to create outrage, to blatantly paint something in the negative light constantly. Now, the bucket technique is, again, to lump everything in and to generalize about everyone in that sphere, to exploit women's needs for perfection. Louis Theroux, remember, he's a documentary maker for decades, right? He's trained to manipulate you, right? Remember, media is a business, attention span. They study and study and study. And what they also do is they make lots of material, right? Louis Theroux and Michael Moore, they all had long-running series of producing lots of documentaries. And what they do, they literally strapped university students to a chair and measured their psychological and physical and emotional reactions using specialized machines such as heart rate, but not just, your average heart rate monitor. I'm talking about, the finest machinery, looking at your eyeball patterns to gauge reactions. Everything from, you look at the clothes, fashion industry, particularly for men, everything now goes through the critical eye of a handful of people. And they're all feminists. All your big fashion houses, they're hiring movie stars' children, right? Nepo babies. One of them's Will Smith's son. They've pretty much pipelined that, right? Will Smith's son obviously is not an expert on fashion, but how does he become an expert on fashion? Does he, like me, study and research and present it? No. He's a pipeline. All these organizations, and I did this in the Media Matrix, a video on the Media Matrix. It's a matrix of influence, right? Where you have the Soros Foundation and all the societies under it, memberships. And what they do is they're constantly mailing their members, and they're constantly weeding out anybody who's lowering down the score. They get replaced, right? For every fresh and fit, there's 100 I want to be fresh and fits. Remember, most of YouTube is a business, and it is a controlled business where they are constantly gauged and measured, and they are constantly repeating their best videos. They are locked into a formula where instead of everything being fresh, original, made to the topic, for the topic, everything is rinse and repeat, that which got the most engagement. And eventually your audience becomes, why? Because the parrot technique, right? It's brainwashing, right? If you strip away originality and creativity, you boil everything down to its lowest common denominator, what happens? There's no critical thinking. Everybody just nods along. Everybody just goes along. If you do not engage in a variety of reading, if you stuck yourself reading the same thing over and over again, you become a moron. Now, you have to critically, this is the part where this is what documentaries do. They strip away critical thinking. They do the critical thinking for you. You have to critically think. You have to ask yourself why Louis chose that clip. Why did he choose that particular setting? What is the symbolism? Remember, everything comes down to symbolism. We all have things that trigger us. No, this ain't in block test. This is like a mother and child, right? A mother hugging a child, a mother killing a child, a mother raising a son on her own. They all program you to think of women as the victims, even when they're killing their own child, right? You've got to think, every time you've seen those images, right? Schindler's List, why was the little girl in red? To humanize, to highlight her. And remember, Schindler's List admitted recently and was forced to admit that it is a work of fiction. Not just the movie, the book. And Schindler's Ark, the so-called list, doesn't exist. All those researchers, you can't go to the library and check all those lists. But even if you do, what are you going to learn? That someone in 1948 typed out a list of names? There's no death certificate. There's no confirmation of death. They just typed up lists of names of people who were arrested. No context. Right? So you're telling me everybody the Nazis arrested was an innocent babe in the woods? There was no crime during the war? Heck, we know from historical fact it was the 1883 to about 1960, crime was terrible. Look at gangsters ruled the streets. Governments lived in fear. Corruption was rife. And I'm not just talking about in the West. And out of this garbage came feminists, right? This garbage period of history brought out feminists. So their ideology is forged in communism, is forged in violence, control, manipulation. Now, everything Louis Theroux, look at his face, right? He's surprised. But how many people know that? How many people have empathy? How many people are going to go, I'm going to judge this man by what he says, not by the colour of his skin, or just look at him. His eyes! Why? He's got camera in his eyes, which he's probably used to. So he doesn't 100% colour dye his hair. Men should be beholden to women's obsessions.
I dictate when I put my dick in you.
Yeah. So do I literally mean, oh, yeah, I want to smash right now and you're on your period? And she's like, no, I don't want to do it right now. Like, that's fine. Like, obviously you don't do it. But I need guys to kind of have this mindset where it's like, you're the leader, you're assertive, you're dominant, you're the dictator of the relationship. What you say goes.
Do you consider...
Look at him. Look how tense he is. Look how snooty he is. Right? He's... I think it's a scowl. He's scolding. But he's controlling the tone of his voice. That is what skilled manipulators do. They control the tone of their voice so it's always flat. To never give away their true emotions, but they cannot hide the neck tension. They cannot... Well, one of the reasons why his neck tension is probably his control of the voice, but not the scowl on his face, right? You can't control that to an nth degree 24/7. You're always going to slip. Now he's asking, do you consider yourself a misogynist?
Yourself a misogynist?
No, because misogyny would be the hatred of women. I would argue I love women and I actually understand them. So since I understand them, I know what's best for them.
You think you know better than they do?
Yes, in many ways, yeah. And that's how women want it. They want a guy that can lead them and dominate them.
Which triggers every feminist. Yeah, remember, most people, particularly on YouTube, are not watching the 1.5 hours of Netflix, okay? They're not watching it. It's actually 93 minutes. They are watching, it's called the studio edit. Now, it's broken down into clips on Netflix, and I think all in all, I forgot to open it. I think most of it's gone now. Yeah, most of it's gone. I'm having trouble loading it. Anyway, there's about half an hour total clips. And there are a lot of the same that are different angles. I'm not sure because I'm not going to watch it. But I've heard that he's done different takes. Like, there's over, like, everything is like 2 angles. And there's also Andrew Tate's own clips. And yeah, there's about there's more clips online about it than there's actually in the real documentary. So everybody's taking it out of context, but you can see what simps and simpletons do, right? They're judging him by the look of his face. He's just surprised. Why are women allowed to control their body, right? It's my body, my choice. Yes, I control when I put my dick in you. If you're horny, who cares? I'm not. Right? I'm sick and tired of women adding layers that aren't there. Right? If you want context, ask. Does that mean I have no say? Right? He didn't see. This is the problem with people. They assume everything is now about assumptions from mass consumption. And when you don't make what they want, they tear you down. Everything about feminism is always about tearing you down. Always about deny, right? Women deny they're toxic. They attack you as a misogynist. And then they turn themselves into the victim. Once you see the DOVO, right? Once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's in my previous video. I'm going to link it in this one as well. Inside the Manosphere, even the left, the academic left, consider him superficial. There's no serious scrutiny. Why? Because it doesn't stand up to serious scrutiny. And they don't even use, like, adolescence, the proliferation of male supremacist belief. So, wait a minute. Female, right, femdom, right, is female supremacy, female dominance, right, femdom. Oh, but that's not female supremacy. That is not a toxic belief. And are all these men male supremacists? Or believing that man has a role and women have a role? It doesn't mean I'm superior. It means I have a role and you have a role. There is no superiority in the belief system of the Manosphere. But in MGTOW even, right, they call MGTOW male supremacy. You going your own way. No, you have to be part of the conversation. Remember, academics don't solve anything. They want to endlessly debate. They claim that they're seeking the truth through the dialectic. Now, the dialectic is taking the two extreme beliefs and arguing until you come to a common conclusion. The problem is, they're always arguing in bad faith, right? They are arguing from the position that you're a misogynist unless you agree with them, that you're a male supremacist unless you're a feminist, and that you believe gender and power dynamics is about you, the leader, must be the oppressor, therefore I, the woman, has to be the resistance. No. Nor does it mean that, and again, if you believe a woman has to be 100% submissive, right, you can't. You can't be there 24/7 to control everything she does, thinks. You have to trust a woman. But we can't trust feminists because they are profit-driven. Here they go. Look, she presents toxic profit-driven masculinity. Who? So, is he profit-driven? Absolutely. But is it Louis Theroux? Is it Jane Fonda? Right? Jane Fonda. She has collected lots of dicks in her life. She has collected millions of dollars. Sorry, not billions. She's box office billions and made millions in her life. So wait a minute. Isn't she? What's wrong with profit? See how they just present something in a negative light by saying, oh, they're only profit motive. And? Aren't you? Right? Let's see. Well, there's a little bit of advertising, not much. But I've also got my ad blockers on. Yeah, Misha. Right, can't tell. But, yeah. Again, these academics, they're often funded by organisations, right? Academic wigger and jealous. Yeah! Now, Louis Theroux, again, most of them, right? Again, straight away, they judge, right? Pass judgment straight away. And somehow your foul language, right? It's okay for little Tay to be a foul-mouthed little bitch, but no, if a man speaks his mind and uses colourful language, he's a misogynist. He's toxic. Feminism on display. Yeah. Yeah. That's how I came up with the title. That is toxic male feminism. It's a hit piece. It's Parents' Guide. Don't watch it. It's a hit piece, and you're controlling. You know, I think by 15, if you're still telling your kids what they can watch, you're controlling. You're not trusting your kids to formulate decisions. If you delay adulthood, you're not trusting your children to make decisions. But then again, she's not an adult. She's just she's an oversized toddler. So is Louis Theroux. He's an oversized toddler. He has to have his emotions. He cannot release them. He cannot accept that people have different beliefs. They can't disagree without being triggered. They have to be angry. I'm not angry about feminism. I am, I truly believe that in good and evil, and that evil must be opposed. Evil must be worn down and constantly combated. Learn to critically think, and you will be free of manipulation.
Every day for the past 30 years, you high-heeled pit bulls have blamed us for everything. From not being able to get into Harvard to not being able to get into stretch pants.
Whoops. Yeah, don't accept responsibility. Never acknowledge. When a feminist accuses you of something, you just whatever. You don't know me, you can't judge me. You tear them down by not acknowledging their attack. Do not give them a denial, do not give them an attack, and do not play the victim. They cannot manipulate you if you do not allow them to manipulate you by playing their game of deny, attack, victimhood. So thank you all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. YouTube has an algorithm. It helps me for a mere moment of your time. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and ask if you could support the channel. To do so, and you can support me on Ko-Fi, Patreon, buy my books, buy my merch. All my links are in the link tree, description below, or in my profile. Again, thank you for watching. See you in the next video, and bye for now.